Good day everyone, and welcome to where we are putting together solutions to those math and science problems that students are getting at both the Form 5 or CSEC level and at the 6th Form or CAPE level. In this video, we'll be looking at the past paper questions in CSEC Mathematics and specifically the topic of measurement. Within that topic, we'll be focusing on scale drawings, on all the questions that came from May 2009 until 2017. Feel free to like the video and add any comments down below so we can help you in any areas that you're struggling with. Don't forget to look at the description down below, which gives a full layout of the videos to look at for the entire CSEC Maths syllabus to cover all the past paper questions from May 2009 until the present. Let's look at the topics in CSEC Math, and there are 10 of them. In this video, we'll be looking at number 4, measurement, which comes for 8 questions in the multiple choice paper, paper 1, and for 1 full question in paper 2 worth 9 marks. This topic can be subdivided into 2 main areas: scale drawings and perimeter area and volume questions. This video will be looking at the first one, scale drawings. And as we look at the past paper questions from May 2009 until 2017, they came only 3 times: 2009, 2014, and 2015. Even though the question came every year, the rest of years came on the topic of perimeter area and volume. May 2009, number 4b. The map shown below is drawn at a scale of 1 to 50,000. Part 1. Measure and state in centimeters the distance on the map from L to M along a straight line. So this is best done when we have a printed copy of the past paper with it at 100% size. And when we measure from L to M, it will give us 4.8 centimeters. In part 2, calculate the actual distance in kilometers from L to M. So let's recall that 1 centimeter on the map is equal to 50,000 centimeters in the actual distance. And that is because the scale is 1 to 50,000. Now let's convert it because we want our answer in kilometers. So 1 centimeter on the map is equal to 50,000. And how do we go from centimeters to kilometers? If we consider going up in steps, from centimeter, then we go up to decimeter, that's 1, meter, that's 2, decameter, 3, hectometer, 4, kilometer, 5. So we're moving up 5 steps, which means we need the conversion with 5 zeros. So 50,000 divided by 1 with 5 zeros, or 100,000. And that will convert it to kilometers. So 1 centimeter on the map will be equal to 0.5 kilometers in actual distance. And since this is a ratio question now, we have 4.8 centimeters on the map. So that would be equal to 0.5 times 4.8. which works out to be 2.4 kilometers in actual distance. Part 3. The actual distance between 2 points is 4.5 kilometers. Calculate the number of centimeters that should be used to represent this distance on the map. So we know that 1 centimeter on a map is equal to 0.5 kilometers in actual distance using this scale. And if we consider this to be a ratio question, we actually want to find out for 4.5 kilometers. So how do we do that? Well, we take the right-hand side and we try to make it 1 kilometer. So 1 kilometer on the map. And how do we go from 0.5 to 1? We divide by 0.5 on the right-hand side. So we do the same on the left-hand side. So it'll be 1 over 0.5 centimeters on the map. And for 4.5 kilometers in actual distance, how do we go from 1 to 4.5? We multiply by 4.5 on the right hand side. So we need to do the same on the left hand side. And that will give us 9 centimeters on the map. So even though it was 4.5 kilometers in actual distance, we were able to convert it with the scale of 1 to 50,000 to give us 9 centimeters on the map. May 2014, number 4. The diagram below shows a map of an island drawn on a grid of 1 centimeter squares. The map is drawn to a scale of 1 to 50,000. Part E. Copy and complete each of the following sentences. Part 1. 1 centimeter on the map represents how many centimeters on the island? So, since the scale tells us it's 1 to 50,000, that ratio works for any unit you want to use. So if we say 1 kilometer on the map, that would be 50,000 kilometers in real. 1 meter on the map would be 50,000 meters in real. And of course, kilometers and meters are too large to fit on a map. And this question, part 1, asks us for 1 centimeter on the map. So that will be 50,000 centimeters on the island. In part 2, an area of 1 centimeter squared on the map represents an area of how many centimeters squared on the island? So let's draw a small square representing the 1 centimeter square on the map. So that means if it's a square, it's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. And using the idea from part 1, let's draw a square on the island. And each side, which is 1 centimeter on the map, will be equal to 50,000 centimeters on the island. So it'll be 50,000 by 50,000 centimeters. So area on the map is length times breadth, which is 1 cm by 1 cm, which is equal to 1 centimeter squared. And area on the island, it's still length by breadth, but each side is 50,000 cm by 50,000 centimeters. And that works out to be, using your calculator, 2,500,000,000 centimeters squared. And that's a little cumbersome writing such a large answer. So we can write it as 2.5 by 10 to the power 9 centimeters squared. And part 3. Given that 1 kilometer is equal to 100,000 centimeters, a distance of 1 cm on the map represents a distance of how many kilometers on the island? So from part 1, 1 cm on the map is equal to 50,000 cm in actual distance or on the island. And since we know that we can convert it, that 1 kilometer is equal to 100,000 cm, it means that if we converting centimeters to kilometers, we can rewrite 1 cm on the map is equal to 50,000 divided by 100,000 kilometers as the actual distance. So we can use our calculators and solve for here, or of course we can cancel the zeros. We have 4 zeros on top, we'll cancel with 4 zeros below. We're left with 5 over 10, which is 0.5. So 1 cm on the map is equal to 0.5 kilometers on the island in actual distance. May 14, number 4b, part 1. L and M are 2 tracking stations. State in centimeters the distance LM on the map. So let's recall that the map is 1 centimeter squares. So we can use that as a ruler. So if we count from L to M, we will get 8 of those squares, which means that the length of LM is equal to 8 centimeters. Part 2. Calculate the actual distance in kilometers from L to M on the island. So from part A before, we said 1 cm on the map is equal to 0.5 kilometers on the island in actual distance. So using that ratio, if we want to find 8 cm on the map, which is for LM, then how do we go from the first line to this line? We multiply by 8 on the left-hand side. So we do the same thing on the right-hand side. So we'll get 0.5 times 8 kilometers, which works out to be, what's half of 8? 4 kilometers on the island, or in actual distance. Part C, part 1. The area shaded on the map is a forest reserve. By counting squares, estimate in centimeters squared the area of the forest reserve as shown on the map. So let's go and take a look at the map, and we can see, we can count all the squares there, and let's put some ticks on them. And remember, we're counting the squares which are shaded for more than half of it. If the square is shaded less than half of it, then that is not counted. And if we count them up, we're going to get 15 squares. So the area is 15 centimeters squared. This is a very good approximation. And part 2, calculate in kilometers squared the actual area of the forest reserve. So let's recall that for the map, a square, it's a 1 centimeter squared, so it's 1 cm by 1 cm. So on the island, if we consider the conversion, then it's 1 cm is what? 0.5 kilometers. So it's 0.5 kilometers by 0.5 kilometers. So we can write that 1 cm on the map is equal to 0.5 kilometers actually. So 1 cm by 1 cm on the map, which is really the area on the map for 1 square, is equal to 0.5 by 0.5 kilometers squared on the island. So we're converting from the map to the island. So 1 by 1 is 1 cm squared on the map is equal to 0.5 by 0.5, a half by a half, which is a quarter. So that's 0.25 kilometers squared on the island, or actually. And if we know that ratio, 1 to 0.25, we want to find out for this forest reserve. And that is 15 cm squared on the map. So how do we go from 1 to 15? We multiply by 15 on the left-hand side. That means we go on the right-hand side and multiply by 15 as well. So 0.25 times 15, and we can use our calculators, or we can say 0.25 is a quarter. So 4 into 15 is 3, remainder 3 and 3/4, or 3.75 kilometers squared is the actual area of the forest reserve. May 2015, number 5, part B. Write the following scales in the form 1 to x. So what that means is that we need to find the value of x. Part 1. 1 millimeter is equal to 1 meter. So let's write that 1 mm is to 1 meter. And let's recall the ratio from millimeters to meters. If we want to find it in terms of a scale, we want to have it in the same units. So let's convert meters to millimeters. And if we look at our scale, we can see from meters to millimeters, we are going down. How many steps? Millimeter went to decimeter, that's 1. Decimeter to centimeter, 2. And then centimeter to millimeter, 3. So that's 3 steps, so it's 3 zeros. So it means that 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. And since we have millimeter in both sides, we can cancel. Therefore, this gives us our scale, 1 to 1,000. And for part 2, 2 centimeters is equal to 6 meters. So it's telling us that on the map, if we measure 2 centimeters, then in the real world, it will actually be 6 meters long. So if you want to write that in terms of a scale, similarly to part 1, we need to have it in the same units. So since 2 centimeters would be to 6 meters, we can convert the meters to centimeters. And if we look at our scale, from meters, how do we go to centimeters? We're going down, so that means we're multiplying or we're getting bigger. And how many steps are we taking? From meter, we can jump to decimeter, that's 1 step. And from decimeter, we jump 1 more time to centimeter. So we've jumped 2 steps down, that means we're using 2 zeros, which means that we're multiplying by 100. So 2 centimeters will be 6 times 100, which is 600 centimeters. And we can remove the units there, so we'll get 2 to 600. But we want the first term to be 1, so we need to divide both sides by 2. So 2 into 2, 1, 2 into 600, 300. So the scale is 1 to 300. May 2015, number 5C. The map shown is drawn on a grid of 1 centimeter squares. P, Q, R, and S are 4 tracking stations. The scale of the map is 1 to 2000. Part 1. Determine in centimeters the distance from Q to R on the map. So let's look at QR, and it's telling us that each square is 1 centimeter long and 1 centimeter wide. So if we count how many squares from Q to R, we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 squares, so the distance from Q to R is equal to 6 centimeters. Part 2. Determine by counting the area in square centimeters of the plane PQRS on the map. So let's recall that when we're counting the squares, we count any square which is more than half. If it is less than half is being occupied by the map or by the plane, then it is not counted. So you can see that we have, if we start from the right side columns, we'll get 4 in the first column, 4 in the second column, 4 in the third column. That's 12. 3 more in the fourth column, that's 15, 16, 17, 18, right? So that's be 18 centimeters squared will be the area. Part 3. Calculate the actual distance in kilometers between Q and R. So now we must incorporate our scale. Remember, the scale is 1 to 2000. So it means 1 centimeter on the map is equal to 2000 centimeters in actual distance. So we want our answer in kilometers for the actual distance. So let's convert centimeters on the right hand side to kilometers. So how do we do that? Let's look at the scale, and we can see that from centimeters to kilometers. Now this scale is not given, we have to memorize this. And the steps are kilometer, hectometer, decameter, the base, which is meter, decimeter, centimeter, millimeter. Some of my students memorize it by saying, King Henry drank my dark chocolate milk. So memorizing that sentence, each letter begins one of the prefixes. So King Henry, kilometer, hectometer, drank, deca, my, meter, dark chocolate milk, DCM, decimeter, centimeter, millimeter. So just a little revision. So how do we go from centimeter to kilometer? We are going upwards, which means we're going to get a smaller number because kilometer is much bigger in size. And if we're going to get a smaller number, it means we're going to divide. How much do we divide by? Let's see, from centimeter, let's jump. So 1 jump will carry us to decimeter, 2 jumps to meter, 3 jumps to decameter, 4 to hectometer, 5 to kilometer. So we're going up by, we're making 5 jumps, which means we have 5 zeros. So we're going to say 2000 divided by 100,000 because 100,000 has 5 zeros. And we can use our calculator and simplify that, or we can just shift the point 5 places. So 1 centimeter on the map is equal to 0.02 kilometers in actual distance. And for the actual distance between Q and R, from part 1, QR was 6 centimeters. So 6 centimeters on the map will be equal to, and that's a ratio. Since 1 cm is equal to 0.02 kilometers, 6 cm would be, we're multiplying by 6 on the left-hand side. So we multiply by 6 on the right-hand side, and that will give us 0.2 kilometers will be the actual distance. And part 4, calculate the actual area in square meters of the plane PQRS. So let's look at the small map. Each one is 1 centimeter square, so that's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. And if we do a conversion, 1 cm on the map worked out to be 2000 centimeters, which we knew. And if we're converting that to meters, we're dividing by 100. How do we know that? From centimeter to meter, we're going up 2 spaces. Centi to deci, that's 1. Deci to meter, 2. So 2000 divided by 100, because it's 2 steps, so it's 2 zeros, will give us 20. So 1 cm on the map is equal to 20 meters actually. So if we draw the island, we can see that 20 meters by 20 meters will be the island. So 1 cm by 1 cm on the map is equal to 20 by 20 meters squared. So 1 by 1 is 1 cm squared on the map is equal to 20 by 20, 400 meters squared actually. So we have a ratio. And how much was the area that we saw in part 2? It was 18 centimeters squared. So to go to 18 centimeters squared, we're multiplying by 18 on the left hand side. So we're multiplying by 18 on the right hand side. So 18 centimeters squared will be equal to 400 times 18, which is equal to 7,200 meters squared. And that is the actual area in square meters of that plane. We've now come to the end of the CSEC past paper questions on the topic of measurement, and specifically the focus is on scale drawings. This video looked at the past paper questions from 2009 to 2017 for the May exams, and there were 3 of them. And our next video will be looking at 2018 until the present. Feel free to look at the description down below to get a guide in how we suggest that you cover all the topics by CSEC past paper solutions so that you can get a better understanding of the syllabus and therefore get a better grade as well.